Welcome back, Amanda. Thank you very much. This is a lot of fun talking to you over these episodes. In the last couple of weeks that we've been talking about the exciting changes that are underway for our whole planet, you mentioned something that sort of piqued my interest. You said that there is going to be a shift of energy from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. And I just keep wondering what happens to the fourth dimension myself.
Just ignore it. It was sent to the naughty corner, the fourth dimension. Third dimension is what we've been living in for entirely too long. And it's a very fixed, very much a masculine way of doing things. I'm trying to explain it not in an airy-fairy way. Do you know what I mean? As you raise up your level of consciousness, so you start existing in a different dimensional way of thinking. You don't go to a dimension, you start vibrating at a different level. And they call that the fifth or sixth or seventh or whatever dimension. I think a lot of people thought it was a place. It's not really a place. So the thinking of the third dimension, it doesn't sit well with me now. It's not somewhere I'm comfortable, because it's very much a I win, you lose. So it's very much the wars, doing to this planet what they've been doing, raping it just of all its resources, cutting down trees. It's a very third dimensional way of living. It's like grabbing what you can without a thought of the consequences, of how it affects those around you, of how somebody else is feeling during that process of business. So where businesses, big conglomerates, and which is why I've never felt comfortable even going into the building, is because that energy in there is about, I need to be top dog, I'm going to win, nobody else gets anything, it's all about competition. Whereas once you've moved into a fifth dimensional way of thinking, it becomes more about what you do unto others is what you'd like to have done to you. I care for every sentient being. I don't want to go and shoot a rhinoceros or cut its horn off. It's a different way of thinking and behaving. But it's definitely a vibration. So there's a lot of people still unawake, asleep, and just going on that third dimensional wheel, like a hamster or a whole load of rats. And that's what this lockdown is about. That's what Spirit has done. It said you cannot live in that time anymore, that third dimensional way of thinking anymore. It's not going to be allowed. We are shifted, the whole planet has shifted. There's a myriad of other planets in this galaxy that have already shifted. We're the last. So we're holding everybody up.
Embarrassing.
Yes, we're the embarrassment of the galaxy. It's like, yeah, we've got to. But then there are those of us who came into this lifetime to help people do this transition, and that's what I'm doing. I'm one of those people that said I would come here, and you are as well, that will lead people through to a different way of thinking. Because the third dimensional way of thinking doesn't work. People are miserable, they are living in squalor, they don't have enough to eat, there's a complete sense of lack. Whereas we are on an abundant planet. So the only thing wrong with that is that the powers that shouldn't be took control of it, and they have more than they need, and they're not sharing. So a fifth dimensional way of being, of thinking, of vibrating is about helping everybody, as many people as you can. You don't have to be put upon, you don't have to do things, you don't have to go out and wash people's feet unless you want to. unless you're Mother Teresa and you want to. But the thing is, some people do. And that's what we forget, is that what I might not want to do, you will want to do. And what this person loves doing is something I love doing this. Somebody else is going to say, no, I want to work with my hands. I want to be a carpenter, or I want to, whatever, be a gardener, be an artist, be whatever. Our uniqueness comes from the fact that I believe it works like this. God, whatever you want to call that person, that entity, wants to see what it's like to live on this planet and live through this. So we are made of that energy as different sparks, to go out and see what it's like to be Gail, to be me. How am I experiencing it? And because I'm part of that energy, and dare I say it, God's daughter, just like you are, we're all the son, the daughter of, then I'm reporting back all the time. This is what it's like to be on the planet through me, via me. What's it like to be via you? So that this expression, this magnificent expression of God, could go through everybody and see what decisions they made. Because this is a planet of free will, we can make our minds up to completely shut off from God, the universe, everything if we want to. That's another expression that God wants to see what that's like. So it's an experiment. Yet again, we're in this big, massive experiment. And we are now and have entered into the fifth dimensional thinking. When people say to me, that's human nature, in a derogatory way, I say, I don't think it is. I think it's human conditioning. I don't look at a baby and see a baby coming in original sin. I don't think there's any sin in that child at all. I think it's upbringing, it's conditioning, what it's taught makes it into a nasty person who doesn't want to help other people and doesn't want to be kind because it hasn't known kindness itself. It's huge. To answer that question is huge. You know what I mean? We could go on for hours.
Oh, I can see that. It's fascinating. If I was to say, I'm looking at my life and I'm going, it's quite a dense life. It's quite sludgy and difficult because, you know, it's hard work and it's stress and there are many people pulling at me and all of that. How can I or deprogram my third dimensional thinking? Because I don't know what I don't know. All I know is what I'm experiencing. How do I ascend out of that sludginess into...
Good question, because that for me is the most pertinent thing. How do you make that change? Now, firstly, all these energies are bombarding the planet to reactivate ourselves, because all the memories of how to exist in the fifth dimension, how to think, how we should be thinking, how we should be feeling, is already there. So for that person who hasn't ever given it a thought, the energies coming through now are going to turn that switch on. And that's a heaven-sent thing. We will wake people up, was the message that we've got. In 2020, people will be awakened. You had all this time to wake up, and now, if you haven't woken up on your own, you're going to be woken up by this. It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. Then you are still going to make the choice as to whether you're going to work on it, learn anything about it. A sign of intelligence is to look at all these different avenues. What suits me? I looked into everything until I found what suited me. And I realized I didn't want to belong to anything, because when you belong to a particular faith or a particular, there's a dogmatic way of doing it. You have to believe this, you have to do that, and you have to be here at that time and do it through me because I'm closer to God. Well, I don't think so. anybody can do what I'm doing. Anybody who wants to put the work in and the effort and get to the point where you go, oh, yes, is that what that's about?
What does resonate with me though is that it's far easier to do this work in groups or with people that you trust or with someone who's been there before that can lead you. It feels like some of the church groups that I've belonged to over the years have been helpful in that way. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that every group, works for every person. But how does one find like-minded souls to learn with?
What I love about Spirit is they will always bring those people into your life. Nothing is a coincidence. So you could be flipping through social media. I mean, I had a woman who came to me from another town who said, I can't believe it. I don't even know how Facebook works, she says. And your thing came up with like an ad. She said, and I thought, oh, I better write that down. She said, but I don't know how I got it. I'm not one of your friends. But she said, somehow I got here. And I always say, yeah, if you find your way to my house, my God, have you got an angel that's guiding you like this? But that happens for all of us. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I know that's a very true statement because it's happened to me. All my teachers appeared for me as long as way back from when I was 20. And I was in Germany and a guy popped out of nowhere who was an ex-Mormon priest, American, and this was in Germany. You know what I mean? And I was on the wrong path. I was doing all sorts of things. Thought I'd have a look at Ouija boards, and he came in and said, no. Let me explain to you why. And he explained the whole thing to me, and I realized that was negative energy that I was dealing with. And he taught me that when I was 20. So whenever you're ready, if you truly are ready, and that's where the honesty comes in. And one of the greatest things that you will ever do is to sort of surrender to Spirit. Surrender to the gods, as it were, and say, okay, I need your help. Don't be too sort of can handle everything me. We all need help, all of us, and it's lovely and it's wonderful to feel that energy flooding you. And they go, right, we're here, we're going to take over, we're going to put you in with the right person. There's something to be said for sitting down and putting your head in your hands and saying, thank you for all my gifts. I'd love some more.
A healer friend of mine once said, there's no such thing as greed. God gave us the word and.
Yeah.
And that, and some more, please.
Yes. And abundance.
And abundance. Two thoughts come to mind. One thought is, in the third dimension that we are so programmed to operate within. And I'm an ex-business person, I'm a business person. I believe in managing variables. I believe in taking control. I believe planning and all this left brain analytical stuff has to go on. And people come from a context, my clients and my colleague come from a context of scarcity. So if we don't go after those revenues, someone else is going to get it. How can I shift myself into the possibility of allowing revenues to flow, getting out of the way, asking for help, and operating in a space where it's full of gentleness and love and kindness and generosity?
If you believe in lack, and that's what business does for me and business people, they think that there's a lack and there isn't. So what you've been pre-programmed to is this lack. So what you're giving out to the universe is that scarcity. So you vibrate at a level of, oh my God, I can't get this, panic almost. You know what I mean? So the only thing that comes back from the computer, that is the universe, is that lack and that scarcity. So I'm not saying that one should be cocky or, you know, arrogant is probably a better word. But I think once you understand that you need to believe differently, you need to change your mindset. This whole lockdown is about how much change are you prepared to make? Because if you can start seeing the how to change yourself and go, okay, I am going to believe in this now. I'm going to believe that if I pray in gratitude, it's exactly the same as prayer. If you sit there and say to the universe, I want, I need, I must have, you must give me, the energy that you're giving out is one of lack. It can only, by the laws, the universal laws, come back to you at the level that you gave it out at. If you change that thinking to thank you for the abundance that is in my life. I live and resonate abundance. I have all this. I have created out of nothing, from nowhere. Because we all started, well, I know I did. I started with zero. So anything that is around you, you've created. And people forget to pat themselves on the back because they're taught to chase, 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 chase. At no point do they sit down and say, wow, thank you for all of this. Thank you so much for the last 3 big deals that I got. They were magnificent. Let me sit and resonate at the level of those big deals. Because that's how it's done. It's actually far more simple than you believe. And you know, I was in sales at one stage, so I know I was in a lot of sales for a lot of things. But I can remember looking at other people who were very good at sales, and I saw they were quietly confident that there would always be a deal. Of course they will make deals this month. They always have. That is who they are. So they embodied that, so that the level they were giving out to the universe was that of abundance, of knowing, of yes, of getting. So the people who are struggling at the moment are the people who need to have been given the running snort club of life to be able to sit down and go, okay, am I vibrating at a level of abundance? Or am I still chasing, chasing, chasing lack?
Wow, that's very cool. So getting back to the 5th dimension, something that you've touched on over the weeks has been how it will be after 2020, how it will be after this COVID scamdemic, after all of that. You touched on free energy, you touched on, so talk a little bit about what it will be like in the 5th dimension once we've all woken up.
It's a different way of being. So obviously, there's so much more that's going to happen. There's going to be a great big solar flash as well that will shock people. There's a lot of shocking things coming, I have to say. And I am not allowed to know exactly how they work. For some reason, she's saying to me, I was just, but it's a different way of living. There's more respect for each other. The anger and the fear will be gone from the planet. And for me, that's the most amazing thing. I've always wanted that because I have been in a situation since I was a child of being in a fearful situation, you know, wherever I was. Even when I lived in Germany, we were told, you know, be wary. You've got 20 minutes before the Russians arrive. You know, yeah, I mean, I've always lived like that. In South Africa, we live with this constant fear all the time of people breaking in, of whatever. And so many people have been through that. And all I can say is that That is the third dimensional fear that we resonate. The more fear you feel, the more you draw it towards yourself. So it's very hard, I know, for people to get out of that fear and into love. But third dimensional is very much a fear-based reality, whereas a fifth dimensional reality is an abundant, loving, respectful energy. And I think what people don't understand about the dimensions as well is this energy from the third dimension cannot live in the fifth dimension. It can't work here. So the old way of doing deals and the way you did business and wars and taking from people and whatever will not work here. It won't. So if somebody is still hell-bent on having their, and I mean that literally, hell-bent on living like that, that is what hell is. Totally consumed by acquiring things, being driven by money and taking and controlling other people. Those people will not be able to exist in the fifth dimension. They can't. They are too uncomfortable. Just as if we have to go and sit in the third dimension. If you had to put me in Afghanistan now, I wouldn't be able to. It would blow my mind because it's just not an energy that I could resonate with in any way. I would not feel comfortable there. So there's a comfort zone in these different dimensions. And it's all to do with how you resonate up here, what's going on in your consciousness. They are levels of consciousness.
So a little earlier you said we do have a choice. There is this free will. So if we choose to stay in the third dimension, it's an option. But the others will wake up and start operating in the fifth dimension. So will there be people on Earth still in Afghanistan or Soweto where they're struggling and they're battling and it's literally hand to mouth, where they're not aware that there is this option?
If they choose that, this is still a planet of free will. As far as I know, that we will come to an end of that. That third dimension will no longer exist. They can still choose that and carry on for a short while, but I don't think it'll last for much longer, maybe 20 years, to give them the opportunity to still wake up and move on.
Okay, but everyone is getting the same amount of energy, the same download, the same magical flashes. So everyone is awakening, irrespective of their level of education, irrespective of their spiritual inclinations. The universe is knocking, and it's a question of us opening up and becoming awake. And then I suppose the next stage is to ascend to the fifth dimension and operate there.
Absolutely. And the ascension is about a level of consciousness that is growing. That's what it is. We are ascending to a different level of consciousness. So the thing is, as much as I do think we are getting help, I know that our skies are cleaned by other beings that come or we wouldn't be able to breathe with the amount of crap that they have polluted our air with. Yeah. I know that we get a lot of help. Transmuting energy, it's a big thing because we are energy and this planet is all about energy. What do you do with all that dark energy that is being pumped out from the third dimensional souls who are stuck there? It has to go somewhere because, as we know, energy can't just disappear. It has to go somewhere. So you have people like myself who sit and we do our best to clean that energy. We are transmuting that energy. So we go up, we picture ourselves above the planet and we take on this dark, suck it out almost, of all these dark places and transmute it through ourselves. We know how to do that. everybody's getting as much help as they can, but there is that cognitive dissonance that people have of fighting for what they've been taught, because what are they going to do if everything they believe is wrong? They're going to, it will shatter them. And unfortunately, they're going to have to be shattered, because I've done this in a lot. It's taken me 40 years to get to this point, whereas some people are only waking up now. So I think it's going to be really tough for them. And that's hence why I wanted to do these videos, to just let them know that there's somebody that, you know, understands and you can talk to, and will try and explain it to you. And there are many people like me, I'm sure.
Wow. Well, that's certainly exciting and really informative. Thank you very much, Amanda. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Super. Thank you, Gail.